Hey guys, welcome back to Breaking the Barrier. Today I'm visiting with Brooke Wallace Terrapin. She's a former Miss Rodeo Kansas, a former Miss Rodeo USA. She's been a flag girl at the NFR, and she is an entrepreneur designing and sewing cutting edge Western designs through her business, Midwest Twist. Brooke, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk with you today, and we'll see what we get into.
Absolutely. Well, to start, tell us a little bit about yourself and where your roots in the Western world really began.
Okay, well, it's a long one because I'm almost 30 now, and I started riding horses easily at about 2 years old. So my Western background has definitely been showing horses, English Western, speed events, all that fun stuff. And I think that instilled a lot of hard work into me as well as what my parents taught me. And so I am just forever grateful for growing up being a horse girl. And it wasn't as popular as it is now. And so it's funny to see, actually really cool to see being a horse girl much more popular now than it was when I was a kid. But forever grateful to be a horse girl. And so that led me to become a rodeo queen. When I went to Kansas State University, I saw that there was such thing as Miss Rodeo K-State. And I was, I don't know, about 19 at the time. I had been to rodeos, but I had never really dove deep into what rodeo was until I asked my aunt if she thought it was a good idea to become Miss Rodeo K-State. And she's like, oh my gosh, you have so much to learn. And I thought she was kind of kidding at first, but then I started getting into it, realizing how much more it entailed to be a rodeo queen. And so I started local and I became Miss Rodeo Junction City, which was the perfect thing for me. I'm still great friends with all of those committee members, and I'm still a part of that rodeo committee today. And so that was my start. Got my feet wet, and then decided to run for my next one. And in the beginning, I never really thought that, I want to be Miss Rodeo USA one day, or that was never really a thought. It was more just one at a time. And every time I got a rodeo queen title, I enjoyed it a little more. And that enticed me to go kind of level up each time. And so it's interesting because that's not everyone's story, but I do think by doing it that way, I really fell in love with the sport and not just being a pretty face. It was more of, I really wanted to be an ambassador for the Western industry. And so my two worlds kind of combined. So I went to school for fashion design, which is not something you kind of correlate with the Western industry by any means. I had 0 ag classes at K-State, but I was part of the rodeo club. And so I got to know a whole different group of people at K-State just from being in that club. And eventually I realized that I probably wasn't really my style to end up in New York City or Los Angeles. And I started designing more Western wear in my clothing construction classes, and therefore I ended up making my clothes to be a rodeo queen, which came in very handy. And that's what transpired into my business. As I wrapped up my rodeo queen career as Miss Rodeo USA, I said, I'm going to give it a go. And here we are, 4 or 5 years later, I'm full-time sewing for mostly rodeo queens. I will say I don't want to exclude my other clients. I've had a couple brides and, alterations here and there for whomever. So I would say easily 80% rodeo queen though.
Super cool. So you held a few local titles and then ultimately made the jump to Miss Rodeo Kansas. What was that like? And can you talk about that year in particular?
Yes, it was probably quite most definitely highlights of my life. I don't want to exclude my wedding day because that was also beautiful, but I did have a great time as Miss Rodeo Kansas. And I think it's hard to explain to the average person what it truly is to be a state rodeo queen, because you do get to experience all different rodeos across the whole country. And I even made it up to Canada my year, which was a lot of fun as well. So I think I grew the most as a person that year, meeting new people and meeting people all across the country. I think you grow to appreciate different cultures in different ways a lot more, and you just become a much more well-rounded person overall, and you learn how to understand people and work with people. And I think a lot of the people that I met that year are most definitely going to be in my life for the rest of my life. So
very cool. Well, part of the state title holder experience is preparing for and competing at Miss Rodeo America, where you were incredibly successful, finishing in the top 5 at that event. Talk about that, and then your transition from Miss Rodeo America to switching gears and deciding to try out for Miss Rodeo USA.
Yes, a lot of preparation goes into any pageant, really, but especially when you get at the national level. And so I think it's so hard to think back and remember all the nitty gritty, because as you get far removed from it, I say far, it's only been 5 years, but you start to only remember the best parts of it and not the grueling, intense studying, preparing. But lots of horses were ridden, lots of books were studied, and you look back and you wonder how you actually did do all of that in one singular year. And as we know, a lot of that is piled on to the last couple months when you really get into studying extra hard. And I think at the end of the day, I finally just let go of all the studying. I said, I'm just going to go and be myself, and I'm going to do the best I can, because I know that I would make a great Miss Rodeo XYZ. And hoping that the judges would see that within me. And I would say they did. Even though I didn't win Miss Rodeo America, I still look back and feel very honored that they were able to see who I was and place me in that top 5, because in the moment, I think it's easy to not be grateful. And I think now I'm very much more so grateful that I had the opportunity to even go and compete and be awarded those substantial titles. So the turnaround was very quick to Miss Rodeo USA. Not a lot of people do it, and there is good reason for that. It was very difficult, because you're going from the PRCA to the IPRA. So you're having to read through a different rule book. You're having to learn a very much so different group of people. While there's a lot of things that do transfer from one to the other, there's a lot of things that don't. And I remember thinking to myself, oh dear, if I'm going to represent this organization, I better know my stuff. And so it was about 4 weeks of just kind of regrouping, restudying, and to be able to feel prepared to go and do that. But it worked out. Again, grateful that I had a fabulous group of judges, and they got to see who I was, and they chose me to represent the International Professional Rodeo Association.
Very cool. Well, that was another jam-packed year of experiences. What were the key differences or the key takeaways from your year as Miss Rodeo USA as opposed to your year as Miss Rodeo Kansas?
I think it was just more so a little bit different region that I was rodeoing in. I was rodeoing more in the South. I went up to South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky. I was in Georgia and Alabama, and I hadn't really experienced rodeo in those places before. And so I was meeting a whole new group of people, and that was really fun. That was just a great way to expand my knowledge and my understanding and appreciation for the sport of rodeo, and just see it in a whole different region. So I remember vividly, this is kind of funny, but I was in Georgia for about a month long, my year as Miss Rodeo USA, and it was raining one day. And I just was looking outside and I said, why does this rain look so much different than back home? And it hit me. It hit me because, Kansas, it's pretty windy here. Well, I had never seen rain just fall straight down. So seeing just being like feeling like I was in a movie or something watching it rain, and then realizing why it looked so different. It's just funny. It's something that will always stick with me from being in a different region and getting to appreciate kind of the beauty everywhere.
Absolutely. Well, after your rodeo queen career wrapped up, you decided to take your business full time and become a full-time seamstress and entrepreneur. Talk about that decision and what led you to pursue that full time straight out of the gate.
It had been kind of a buildup of deciding what I was going to do upon being a rodeo queen, because you can't be a rodeo queen forever. There is an age cutoff. And so I think all along I knew that I wanted to give it a try. I've always been the person that thinks I don't want to not try something because I don't want to regret it later in life. And for a while, I was sewing. About my first full year of starting my business, I was sewing and I was also working at a therapeutic riding center. And I found so much joy out of doing both of those. But at the end of the day, I had to choose one because I wasn't giving either one of them my full attention. And I realized that that was kind of the final string to push me to full-time sew. And it really truly was a good choice. And I loved my time getting to teach kiddos how to ride. And I hope to get back to that someday. But for the time being, I think focusing all of my efforts into creating a business that people can come to and rely on and get quality products and go home happy with what they've invested their money into was just really important to me. And I try to always keep that in the front. It's not always about making the most to me. It's more about making the girls and my clients feel that they are beautiful in what I've made them and that their vision has come to life. So I hope to continue that for a long time. I don't plan on hanging it up anytime soon. There's moments that anything gets hard in life. And I think you regroup, you realign your values and what you want for your business. And then everything kind of settles into where it should be. And I've been up and down and going through those growing pains, I'd say the last 4 years. And I finally feel that I'm in a nice spot again to continue to grow because it's just me and only me, and you can only grow so fast. And so I've had to put that into perspective a lot and be happy with where I am and not compare myself to others in the industry.
Most definitely. Great advice. Well, going into business of any kind, whether you're, an underwater basket weaver or manufacturing cars, whatever it may be, there's a lot of lessons learned in the first year of business. Can you shed some light on some of those challenges in particular? Because I feel like that would be enlightening to anyone looking to start a business of their own.
Oh gosh, it's just managing it all. It's managing being your social media person. It's managing answering phone calls and troubleshooting anything that shows up and maybe doesn't fit correctly. It's the ordering, it's the finding the product to order. And when you are that person, because, in big corporations, there's a different person for all of those jobs. And so your brain becomes very much so overloaded. And I think writing things down, as simple as it sounds, I know, but just writing it down and making to-do lists and task lists and what's most important, what can wait, and not trying to do everything at once, I think was my biggest thing to try to figure out. And also just doing it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I think a lot of the times when we're getting ready to launch something big, we struggle with getting past that. It's okay if it's not perfect. The most important thing is that you just get started. And so finally, that's just kind of how it ends up going for me. I'm like, you know what, Brooke, just get started, just do it. Last year, that kind of was the struggle with my website, and I had waited around so long to do it. And I finally said, you know what, you're not good. You're not good at setting up websites. You get someone to do that for you. And so releasing some of those harder parts of business to someone else that can, I think has been something I've learned as well. So, that's kind of, there's no way to really know what's going to happen and where it's going to go. But if you just get going, I think that's your best effort.
Yeah. No doubt. Well, in working with young women, you obviously help them create beautiful pieces, but you're also serving as a mentor, more or less, helping them feel confident in their clothes, but also, on the stage or in the arena, etc. How does this mentorship piece play into your business, and what do you enjoy about that?
Well, because I was a rodeo queen, I feel like I'm able to connect with my clients so much more than if I wasn't. And I have a great understanding of all the different types of pageants and levels of pageants. So I can really help guide them in knowing what they need to be wearing, how they need to be speaking, modeling, etc. I don't truly advertise that I coach, but I do coach a little bit, and I've found it really fun to work with the girls that I am sewing for. And it's fun to become a little part of their journey and get to see them grow and improve and just go out on stage and really shine. And I hope that some of my advice along the way sticks with them and helps them just have a magical moment on stage, whether that be in their dress or whether that be on the back of a horse in their, blinged out rodeo shirt. And it's a hard one to explain. And I guess at the end of the day, I just feel really grateful that girls put so much trust into me that I am going to help them through it, and that I am going to make something beautiful for them. So sometimes it feels unreal that I get to do this creative business that I love, and no one second guesses me for a second, even though I might be second guessing myself sometimes. Just their faith in me helps me produce at my best abilities.
Last year, I had the privilege of having you create a few outfits for me, and one of them in particular, I will never be getting rid of as long as I live. In fact, I might be buried in it. I'm not sure. But walk us through the process. If someone approaches you or gives you a call and wants you to work on a project, what does that process look like from start to finish?
Absolutely. So it really just starts with a message. I answer pretty consistently on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I've recently gotten better at answering from my website. So just know, if you don't hear from me within a day or two on one social media, just pop onto another one. I will answer you. My phone number is on my website. Just give me a call. And so I never want someone to think that I'm ignoring them. So that's my biggest thing for people. Just reach out. It just starts with a quick message. I kind of get an idea of what you want, and then we kind of go to the drawing board. A lot of people know exactly what they want. Some people aren't quite sure. And I like to give some options. And so we start with a couple drawings. We get narrowed down to what we're doing. And then it's fabric colors, choices in fabric type. If there's going to be bling on it, which most of the time in my workshop, there is definitely bling on it. And so we can edit and change. And then sometimes in the design process, I will be doing it and something just doesn't look right. Maybe there needs to be more bling, less bling, more lace, it's kind of an ever-growing process. I'd say for the majority of the time, the outfit turns out just like the drawing, but in some cases, we decide to switch it up like mid-design, and it ends up, whatever's going to be best in the end is what I want. So it doesn't matter to me a lot of times if people change their mind along the way. As long as I haven't physically done it yet, I'm fine with moving and changing and making that perfect outfit happen.
Most definitely. Well, the outfit in question is my rust and rose embellished outfit that you made me for Miss Rodeo America. And I have not quite found an occasion to rewear it yet, but it is in the arsenal and it will not be retired anytime soon.
Just wear it.
Yeah.
Just wear it to Walmart. Who cares?
Oh, Lord. Well, I feel like being a seamstress and knowing how to construct high quality clothing is sort of a dying art in many respects. What about clothing construction and design makes you feel excited?
It is quite funny to explain to people what I do. And I kind of get this look of, I thought only old ladies did that. That's kind of the look I get from people when they hear that I sew for a living. But it's exciting to create art in general. I love bringing something to the table that hasn't always been there or is just a little spin-off of something that people love. And sewing and designing and making a pattern, it's just all art to me. It's funny to say it out loud that I just sew for a living, but it's so much more than that. It's such a creative process that I think a lot of people don't really truly understand. So I think I try to keep it into perspective for myself as I'm just creating art for people that they can wear. And I think that helps keep the designs new and fresh and different from everyone else. I've told a lot of people recently, sorry, I can't make that exact outfit because someone already has. Let's make you your own version of that. And it's really fun. I feel like I'm still growing into the designer that I am, and I know that will forever be changing throughout my lifetime. Clothing is one of those things that goes through lots of trends and changes, and sometimes we always come back to the staples again. And so I try to keep an open mind about what my style is and try to implement that into the different outfits that I'm making for people, while also keeping in mind that it's okay to sacrifice something, a color choice I want for someone else, or a design element. It's okay for me to let go of what I truly want to do and just do what they want. And other times, I think it's important that I kind of give my ideas and say, hey, what about this? And a lot of times that works out really good as well, because the client will be like, oh, I would have never thought of that. And so a little bit of both, some give and take. That's what it's all about.
I think there's a lot of integrity in saying that's a beautiful design, but I'm not going to remake that exactly. Can you talk a little bit more about that and kind of resisting the urge to do what's always been done?
Yes, it's hard, but truly, if you're writing a paper, you can't copy someone's work. You can't word for word write what they wrote. And so it's the same thing. And this was some part of some of my classes at K-State. And it was weird to think that you could plagiarize someone else's work in the realm of art. But it's true. It can be done, and it's actually done quite a lot. So I always feel like if I can be a leading force in not doing that and not conforming to other people's designs, that I can truly be authentic. So even designs that I've personally made myself, I'm not necessarily going to copy those again, because that goes into, I want everyone to feel unique and individual in their own outfits. And so by me copying something that I made for someone else, then that girl is going to feel like, oh, now I don't have that unique piece anymore. So I think that's a little bit, it's not really talked about a lot, but I think it's important to bring up. And so yeah, I do my best to stay true to that, and I hope that everyone understands when I'm like, sorry, not gonna, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah. Well, rodeo queens aside, being in this industry gives you an appreciation for true good fit of garments and that sort of thing. What do you think is the biggest mistake people make when it comes to either selecting garments for themselves or just errors when it comes to fit?
I've talked to a lot of judges over the years, and I've been a judge myself, and I think fit trumps bling or design any day. If it fits your body type, it's going to look the best on you. And I think, there's a lot of Facebook sites out there where you can purchase rodeo queen clothing, and that's great. I think it's really great that we have social media so that you can find something you love. But the biggest thing is, once you get it, make sure you get it tailored. It's really not that much to get something tailored. I do alterations on the side for clothes that I've made, or even things that come off the rack, or girls that have bought from other rodeo queens. And it's amazing with even just a few darts, or even taking a half an inch in on the sleeves, how much better that fits them. So that truly is something to think about when purchasing clothing. And I will say, I don't meet a lot of my clients. They measure themselves at home. They send me the measurements, and we make the outfit, and then I mail it to them. We never get a fitting, and that's something that's not really normal. In custom clothing, you're typically going to go to your seamstress that you're getting custom clothing from and have fittings. Like, that's what's normal in the bridal industry. That's what's normal in a lot of industries. Yet in ours, people just expect everything to be perfect upon arrival. And while I make mistakes, but mistakes can also be made in the measuring aspect of what clothing you're getting. So it can be on both ends, when maybe your garment just needs to be taken in a tiny bit. And so I always try to leave room for error on my end so that people can mail it back and whatnot. But I think it's important to be transparent with your designer as well on your end, and say when things don't fit right, because I am more than like, that's part of what you've paid me to do, is to make sure it fits you. So send that sucker back. Let's get it working right. And a lot of people are afraid to reach back out to the people that make their clothing. And I say, don't be. Reach out to them, make it right. Like, they've made this for you, and they should fix it.
Well, something you have a lot of experience in, whether it's receiving feedback at a queen contest, either as a contestant or judge, etc., or as a business owner getting feedback from clients. What do you think is the most important thing to keep in mind when either giving feedback or receiving it?
Oh, what's that? Your compliment sandwich, I think. I think we call it that, where you start out with a positive, then you come around with maybe more of a negative, and end with a positive. I think that's really important. I'm a pretty hard judge. I've judged some queen pageants, and even in my coaching, I'm pretty particular, because I think if someone's going to pay me to coach them, I better be honest. And I think honesty is really important when you're trying to improve and grow. And I hope people treat me the same way, as is my motto to them. But I'm going to be honest with you, but that doesn't mean I can't compliment you as well. So I have to remember myself that these girls are coming to me with a lot of preparation under their belt. And so I try to also focus on the things that they are doing right, and then incorporate, hey, you can make this 3% better. You're doing it at such a great level, but we can always grow and achieve something a little bit better. And so putting it into that perspective, I think, helps people understand the critiques that they're getting.
Definitely. Well, this has been such a fun conversation, and I've so enjoyed following along with your journey over the years. But if you had to sum up in one piece of advice for someone either wanting to do a queen contest or wanting to start a business, what advice would you give them when it comes to taking a leap of faith in one thing or another?
It really goes back to just doing it. And I know that sounds so simple, but yet preparing yourself enough to just do it, I think, needs to be added to that. A lot of times I see people just last minute decide to sign up for a rodeo queen pageant, when in fact maybe they should have thought about it about a year ago, and prepared in the correct manner to do so. And so at the end of the day, you've got to just do it, but give yourself the best chance you can to do it right the first time. I think is probably the best way to truly put that into perspective.
Definitely. Well, Brooke, is there anything we haven't touched on today that you'd like people to know?
I think we've hit a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for making the time to do this. This was fun.
Absolutely. No problem.